Jason Moore here at Guitar Solo Dojo. I had a request on a couple of different occasions to break down the solo to In a Simple Rhyme, and I hesitated because I hadn't ever really learned that solo. Love that song, but it's just a solo that for some reason I ended up overlooking. And so this morning, I got up and I made it my mission to start working on that solo. So that's what I did, and here it is for you. I'm going to break it down the way I understand it. Unfortunately, unlike a lot of the other solos that I like to break down and listen to, I can't find an isolated track. I know there's all sorts of programs out there that can do it, but I'm just kind of lazy that way. So anyway, I just used just a regular video off of YouTube and slowed it down to make sure that I was kind of on the right track. And I used a transcription to see just if they had anything correct, and most of it was correct, but according to my ear anyway. So here we go. We start with this cool little rhythm part, just going from an A to a G. Okay, and then we get this slide right on the and of 2, right into an open on the G string. And we've got this little slide up to the 9th fret on the and of 3. So, and then that pulls off to the 7th fret on the G string, which is on 4, and then this bend, which is a 1.5 step bend, comes right on the end of 4. And that's followed by that same exact bend repeated 4 more times. Okay, I forgot what note I was bending. Anyway, so we get that bend up there, and it kind of feels like quarter note triplets, and it's close to it. It's a weird little rhythm, but I think if you listen to it, you'll probably figure it out because it's not going super fast. You just kind of copy the idea. So next little phrase starts right on 1. And it's basically what looks like a D chord. Okay, and that just covers the first 4/16 notes, or the first beat of that measure. And then we get these other follow-up notes, which are on the E and of beat number 2. So we got... Then on beat number 3, we get our first bend here. And then and that lasts a dotted 8th note. So, and that dotted 8th note, or the second bend here, is only a 16th, but it's tied in to the 16th of the first 16th of the next beat. So it actually equals an 8th note. And then we get into these 3/16 notes at the end of beat number 4. I know it sounds complicated, but it's... Okay, so there's our first phrase, our first main phrase of the solo. Getting into the next measure is where it gets a little strange when I'm listening to it, because not all the notes are super clear. And like I said, I can't find an isolated track. But here's kind of what we get. It starts off basic, and the second beat kind of goes haywire, and then it goes back to somewhat basic again. Rhythmically, that is. So we get this first beat is just 4/16 notes. The next beat's kind of the haywire one. And we have a couple little rakes in here. Okay, really slowly. Okay, just speeding it up as we go. And it's all based off of a D pentatonic or blues, because he incorporates this flat 5 here, which is the 13th fret on the G string. So, and then that leads us into beat number 3, which is just not so bad, just 4/16 notes. And then we get this little fill right here. And that's the end of that measure, and that leads us into... Or it doesn't bend it, sorry, just does a vibrato on it. So we have this other 10th fret repeated again, right on the first beat, and it just either hammers on or picks to that 12th fret. So then we get our next little phrase, and that starts on beat number 3 of this measure. So it's 1, 2, and does a little slide before on the and. So 1, 2. Okay, and this is important to keep track of. This is beat number 3, and then this is 4/16 notes on beat number 4. And then the whole rest of this little chromatic run starts on beat number 1, okay, on the 15th fret of the high E string. And all this is I'll take it from beat number 4. We're just starting from the 13th fret. He's got this 13th fret pulling off to 12. Okay, so it's just a little half step pull off. And then that little sequence moves up chromatically all the way up the fretboard. So starting on 4, and then we get beat number 1. So each 2 sets of pull-offs equals 1 beat. So this is beat number 1, beat number 2, beat number 3, beat number 4. Okay, and then finally we go back into the bend here, which is on beat number 1 of the next measure. Okay, then on beat number 2 of that measure. Pretty simple thing. It's just 16th, 16th, 8th. And that ties into beat number 3. And then we do this sequence of 8th note triplets. But the first note of that 8th note triplet sequence is tied from this bend. So on beat number 3, it's just the second 2 notes of the triplet. So, and these 3 notes here are on beat number 4. And I'm paying a lot more attention than normal. I always pay attention to the rhythm, but when I'm explaining it in this particular solo, where all the beats are lined up and breaking it down more than usual. So that could be annoying, but it's absolutely critical, and it's how I learn it. So I think it'll probably help when you set aside to learn it. And even if you're kind of ignoring what I'm saying about it in terms of where the thing lands, if you look at the paper or you listen to the song, that's how you want to approach these things, because just in general, Eddie's timing is crazy cool. It's super, super spot on, but it is definitely unorthodox. And so I am always looking for the target notes. I've talked about that before, where I have certain notes. I want to know what beat they land on, and that gives me a good solid ground to step from. Okay, so we got that little lick here. Now starting on beat number 2 of the following measure, just a really basic little blues pentatonic lick. So really slow. And then beat number 3, number 4, and then finally we do the closeout lick, which starts on the second 16th note of beat number 1. So from here, and right back into that next section of the tune. So, gonna be a fun solo. Find a transcription for it, help yourself along, and but more than anything else, pay attention to the timing. Obviously, the notes are important too. That goes without saying, but the timing is critical on all this stuff. Turn on your metronome, learn it really slow. This is a deceptively quick solo. I think it's 136 beats per minute, but which he has a lot of songs and a lot of solos around that tempo. And just the way he phrases stuff, it'll catch you off guard if you haven't really slowed it down and worked it out at the slow tempo first. So I hope you enjoy. This one was by request, so have fun.